In Print Radio. In Print is a professional writers organization located in Rockford, Illinois. We're dedicated to providing resources and education off the page and on the air. Hello, I'm Bob Francis. Today, In Print member Kathleen Tresmer sits down with YA novelist A.E. Field.
Congratulations, Amy Field, on the success of your debut YA novel, Skyla.
Thank you.
Before we discuss the book, let's share with the audience what led up to you becoming a writer. Tell us, did you always write?
No, I didn't always write. I think there were signs, when I was a child that I did want to write. I just don't think I quite caught on till later on in life. I was in a small writing group when I was in 5th grade, and I did some poetry and some songs along the way in my teenage years. But not until I was married and had kids did I really find that I loved to write.
What did you study in college?
I actually studied missions and theology. So did a lot of traveling and a lot of biblical studies and just worked with people a lot.
Well, the biblical studies, that would contribute to your historical nature, too. You have an interest, I know, in that, both going backwards and forwards.
Yes, I love history.
Well, and let's really talk about that a little bit. You traveled extensively in high school and college. Tell us about that.
I started traveling to different countries probably when I was around 13. Just did some missions trips in the summer with my family to Mexico. And then once I was in college, I actually started traveling a little bit more. I lived overseas for a while in Romania for about 7 months, visited through Eastern Europe and Bulgaria and Hungary, and been to England and did a stint in Panama for a little while. So I've been kind of all over the place.
Well, and that must have been very interesting, especially at your age. Seeing all these new cultures.
Yes. I don't think I probably appreciated it as much as I could have at that age, but I mean, just getting to see different cultures just opens your mind to so many things. I mean, I would love to travel more now, but with kids, it's kind of harder to get out and about. So
it's interesting. We can talk about your exciting novel because that kind of relates to some of your travels and kind of we have some insight there. Why don't you tell us first, let's just talk about Skyla. Tell us a little bit about your first novel.
Skyla is a young adult kind of dystopian / sci-fi kind of book. It's basically a futuristic America where the human population got almost wiped out by a virus, and then the government kind of comes in and takes over and puts everybody in these islands in the sky to keep them from getting sick from this virus because it's an airborne virus. So and then we flash forward 300 years to that society that's living up in the sky and what they're like when we follow an orphan named Skyla and her journeys up in the sky world and learning about the government and what happened to the earth, and we just find out a lot of secrets.
Oh, exciting. Well, you say that this is a ghost virus novel. That tells me that there's going to be more than one, Amy.
Yes, there's definitely going to be more than one. Probably in my head it's 4 right now, but we'll see. Sometimes what's in your head is not always what comes down on paper. So,
well, you created this completely different world in the sky, and to me that was quite fascinating because I know as a writer that creating a different world is a very difficult task. What led to your choice of the sky, and did you have a model for the sky world?
I have to say, I watched a movie a long time ago. I don't even remember the name of it. It was a Disney movie, I think, and I remember seeing I think they had pirate ships in the sky and this kid kind of surfing on the clouds, and I always had that image in my head. And so that's where I kind of explored, the sky world kind of concept. I just loved it. And I don't know, I kind of also wanted a sandstone kind of ghetto-y looking, like a Jerusalem, where it's just all sandstone and very old looking. because there's not much that can survive, up that high in the atmosphere. So you're not going to have trees and all that kind of stuff. So, I stuck with kind of an urban, stone-looking kind of world, I guess.
Neat.
This is what.
Well, having read Skylaw, I do know that you were very descriptive, and I could just see everything around me and what it looked like. I was really there. It's quite an exciting novel.
Thank you.
It's interesting to me. Now, you started off, so we were talking about historically in your life, you started off in school doing mission work, studying theology.
Okay.
Now you're working in retail, in, kind of in the consumer marketplace.
Right.
And then you started writing somewhere in between.
Right.
Let's talk about your process here, how that happened, your journey to writing.
We were doing, mission work and working there, but a lot of times that doesn't really pay the bills. So I had done a lot of work for the missions organization that we were with, designing newsletters and that kind of thing. So I looked for a field that was close to that. So retail, I work in a copy and print center. So I do some designing, a lot of printing, and I really love getting that aspect. I've learned a lot from working in a copy and print, and I've learned a lot about business. Then I just love to read. So I actually was reading the Aragon series by Christopher Paolini, and found out that kid was like 15 years old when he wrote a book. And after finishing reading it, I said, if this kid can write a book, so can I.
Oh, you go, girl.
So that's what started my journey on writing. I wrote by myself, and then I met some wonderful people to write with, and they've helped me so much. So I couldn't have done it without them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about networking and working together and pooling your resources to get something done.
Yes.
We'll tell your audience that you chose to, for your debut novel, you chose to pursue indie publishing, which we use these terms kind of intermingling, indie and self-publishing, non-traditional publishing. They all mean the same thing. And that's as opposed to going with one of the top 6 publishing companies and going through an agent and all that. So tell us about why you chose to go indie, and maybe a little bit about how your retail experience has helped you with that.
There's a lot of reasons that I chose to go indie. I think the biggest is that traditionally publishing can take years. And I think I wanted something, in my hand, accessible. I also loved the fact that I controlled everything. I was in charge of my own cover design, when it came out, the layout of my book, which with my experience with copy and print, I had a lot of ideas, and I didn't want to give somebody else the rein on that, I guess. So I liked it for that reason. I also liked it because I do work full time, and I have 2 children and a family, and the time that I have to put into it is very limited. So indie publishing let me do it on my own timetable. And so I've been very pleased with it so far. It's definitely still something that is a lot of work. You've got to market yourself and all that. But working in a copy and print department, I can do a lot of things that maybe people that don't have that experience can. So
you've got you've got a pretty substantial skill set from what you do working in the print industry. You've got some graphic design background. You've got some printing background. You know the materials, even from what kind of paper you want, what kind of cover you want, those kind of things. That's pretty, that gives you kind of a leg up in this industry.
And in marketing, just knowing where I have to market in the store and how to market there helps me market my book, as far as knowing what to put in color and how many people are going to, come back after you've put so many things out, like your ratios. I see a lot of that in my day-to-day work, so it helps me when I'm seeing my responses from my book to know, hey, is this a good response or a bad response, from what I've put out there.
Well, it sounds like you're certainly everything you've done up until now has contributed greatly to your ability to succeed in publishing. That's very exciting.
I think so, yes.
How has your family reacted to all of this, Amy? You said before that they were supportive, but let's talk about what this has meant to your family.
My family is amazing. My mom and dad are incredible. They encourage me. My dad reads through everything before I send it out. My sister does as well. My aunt, my husband, even my kids. My youngest is a little too young to understand everything yet, but my son is quite the avid reader, and he definitely lets me know what he thinks about the book. So he thinks it's amazing that Mom published a book and tells all his friends and his teachers. So
I heard that you were invited to his school to come and talk.
I don't know about that. I know his teachers are looking into getting the book, and I know his librarian's looking at getting it in the actual school library. So that would be kind of cool.
Oh, make you a hero, huh?
Yeah, I know. Hey.
That's great.
It's good to have such enthusiastic kids behind you. So.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful to hear about how you've processed this all along and what you've done to make your family, your work life, your education, and everything has come together to produce this. So let's talk a little bit about the next in the series. Got Skyla living in the sky world. Which is interesting. And then, so now we've got the second book in the series, Metamorphosis. And when will that be coming out, Amy?
I hate to make promises. I'm hoping here very soon, if not by the end of the year. Okay. I don't make any promises just because I do work 40 hours a week and all my kids, and it will be out by then at some time. So, but I'm excited about it.
Great. And I understand you already have your cover picked out and everything. So
yes.
You've done a lot of your preliminary work. We're all looking forward to seeing it. Can you tell us a little about the story?
I will tell as much as I can without giving away for those who haven't read book one. But it's definitely a lot of action, just like the first book. So very fast-paced. It's going to be in a dual point of view. So one of the main characters from the first book, Jay, and Skyla, where I go back and forth between the two views. They're on an island, again, another island in the sky, and they are racing against time from the SIPs, which are the sky police that are in the government up there. So they're kind of being hunted. So it's very high-paced, high action. You won't be disappointed.
We'll be back with more of Kathleen's interview with A.E. Field right after this. Welcome back to Imprint Radio. Let's continue the interview with Kathleen Tresmer sitting down with A.E. Field.
You know, Amy, it's interesting. Now, Skyla Deep is an orphan. She's had real tough times. She's always hunted by the police. And here you're a very family-oriented person.
Never hunted, yes.
Never hunted by the police.
Right.
Kind of on the other end of the spectrum. How did you come up with such a character?
Well, I always love just an amazing heroine that can just kick butt, I guess. Is what
your alter ego?
Right. I kind of think I live vicariously through Skyla. She does a lot of stuff I wouldn't do. She's skydives and, runs from the police and gets into fights, I mean, I think she's like who I am in my mind, So
that's great. Well, that's the process, isn't it? To
right.
To live out all those things vicarious. Huh?
You're right, and not in real life.
Well, it's interesting. I know that you are pretty skilled at using social media, and you have kind of approached your marketing, of your first book and certainly of your whole brand, Ghost Virus brand. You're big on using social media. Talk a little bit about how you do that.
Well, a lot of it's through Facebook. I have my own Facebook page. I have my own Goodreads author page. I have my own Blogspot. That's kind of where I first started, was my Blogspot. I created that to do little snippets of my book up to when I actually released it. I did it for about 6 to 8 weeks, and I advertised that on Facebook. So all my Facebook friends and then their friends could see that, and they could go and get a little picture of what my book was going to look like when it came out. And so that's kind of where I started. I've got a website in the works. Haven't quite got it up yet, but I think it's always word of mouth, that get your books out there, whether it's, in person or on social media, but social media is just so much faster.
Well, and certainly your audience is adept at social media, and there's an awful lot of young people interacting in social media. Let's talk about why you chose to write YA instead of, say, historical fiction or adult romance or something of that nature. Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
I really like young adult for several reasons. One, because it's something I can write and my kid can read.
Very good.
Because a lot of the reason that I do write is to show my kids that they can pursue their dreams and make it happen. I want them to know that I had a dream and that I made it happen so they can do the same thing. Secondly, I think I do because I love that period of time in your life. There's just so much going on. You're coming from being a child, being told everything that you can and can't do to, hey, I'm me now and I'm going to make my own choices. I'm going to find out who I am. I'm going to have that first kiss, that first romance, that first decision that, is a bad one that I got to learn from or a good one in which I succeed. It's just such an interesting time in life. And maybe I'm living vicariously there too. I don't know. But I just love that whole experience because I want kids and young people to know that that's the time and that to make the good decisions. And Skyla, showing her going through these times in her life and making the decisions and finding out who she is, I hope that kids can relate and find that it's okay to go through hard times and to make those tough decisions and find out who they are and to face their fears, I guess.
Great. Well, who was influential or inspirational to you as you were coming up? You're a young woman, a lovely young woman, and, it hasn't been that long. So can you kind of think back a little bit and tell us who influenced you?
Well, I definitely had some really great friends, in college that I had a mentor that was a great mentor. Her name was Tina. She helped me a lot with finding out who I am and finding out that it was okay to make mistakes and, okay to have opinions and...
An important lesson.
Right. Things that we're sometimes told that we can't do. And the system definitely tells Skyla she can't have those opinions and things. And, as far as writers influencing me in writing, like I said, Christopher Paolini, just seeing him write his stuff at 15 years old, I just thought he was such an amazing person to do that so young. Yeah. So that influenced me. And then even my own writing group, our high rev writers have given me a lot of just oomph and finding who I am as a writer. So I feel like I've been influenced by them a lot, just being myself, being okay with being myself, being okay with making mistakes and having to redo and flesh things out. And so there's a lot of people, there's just a lot of people that, and isn't that the way life is? Everybody puts a little piece in your life and, you end up being pieces of everybody else that they've given you.
Oh, that's excellent. Good for you. You've got a pretty good support network.
I do.
Yeah. What about, you were raised in the mountains of Virginia.
Yes.
You went to college in Texas.
Yes.
Now you live in Freeport, Illinois, the heart of the Midwest. How has this influenced the way you write?
I think, seeing different places and different people, you get to know just different things about America and different sections of people. I think that's probably influenced my characters for sure. I do them off of people I know for sure, that their attitudes and things, and everybody in different areas of the United States are different. The South is very conservative. The North is very not conservative. The East is very, depending where you are, in the East, same thing, conservative, not conservative. So, and the landscape too, I just always feel very, very inspired by the landscapes. So, I definitely get writing urges when I'm outside seeing the site. Even an empty cornfield can be, an inspiration at times, or a mountain, or the frost on the window pane. you just don't know whatever is going to hit you. They all give you descriptions and feelings about what you want to write, you know?
You've traveled a lot. You've had a lot to contribute. So now I'm wondering, what's your process, Amy? Do you outline everything before you write? Do you create the characters in your head and just kind of go from there? What's your process?
I do have a notebook where I do a timeline. So I have a basic drawing of where I want to be at the beginning, the middle, the end of the book. A lot of it is daydreaming. I've always been a daydreamer since I was a little kid, and I do my best daydreaming right before I go to bed. So a lot of my characters and ideas come to me at night before I'm going to bed, or either in the morning in the shower. I don't know why. The shower is just a great place to get ideas. So I don't think outside of that, I don't really have sticky notes or, a plan really. It's all just daydreaming. I find that's the best way for me, is just letting my mind go and be creative. And then we do go on writing retreats, my group. And during those days, we really buckle down for like 3 days and just write hard. And that's a very important piece because I don't have a lot of time. So doing those gives me time to get my head in order and just sit down and look at everything. But everything's on the computer and in my head. I'm just a visual person, I guess.
How do you set up your retreat? Is it formal? Is it kind of relaxed?
It's very relaxed, actually. We do it twice a year. We go up to a very small town. It's actually an artisty kind of town in Wisconsin, and lots of just homemade good food, tons of time with just the computer. It's just 3 of us. There's no TVs in the house. Nothing like that. No media. It's just us and the computers and talking, and we bounce ideas off each other and just talk and have a good time. We have downtime and we have serious time. And so it's very unstructured, and yet we get so much accomplished.
Oh, that's great. So this is something your writing group just put together on its own?
Yes, we do. Just on our own.
And is this where you indulge in chocolate and scones? I see in your bio that you...
Very much so. I get scone cravings before we go up there. There's very good scones up there and chocolate.
We'll look for scones to show up in one of your books down the road, Amy.
Somewhere. I've already had sweet rolls, but I got to get some scones in there somewhere.
Well, when you talk to young people who are writers, I know you're a member of InPrint and the Chicago Writers Association. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to other writers, what kinds of things do you tell them, or what would you like to say to other writers about just kind of what to look at, what kinds of advice to give them, that kind of thing?
There's several quotes that I actually love about writing. One of them is, write the book that you would want to read. So,
good one. And who said that? Do we know?
I think it's Toni Morrison.
Oh, okay, maybe.
But that is exactly what I would say. That's, I think, what was in my heart. I wanted a book that if I picked it off the shelf, I would want to read it. So that's the kind of book I want to write. So write that kind of book. Don't write a book for somebody else. Write a book because you would want to pick it off the shelf and read it. And then secondly, finish the book. Like, get the book done. Like, that's half the battle, is just keep writing. Because in the middle of the book, you don't want to finish. You want to give up. You want to, you hit that wall and you don't want to make it. But that's half the battle. Half the battle is just getting through the book. And once you've done it, you'll be so glad, but don't give up halfway through, because so many people do.
It's been said that the only unsuccessful author is one that quit, right? Isn't
right.
Yeah.
Don't quit, even when it's hard.
You've done a lot of research for these books.
Yes.
And you said how many you think will be in the series?
I'm thinking about 4 right now.
So you've done a lot of research. Do you have a science background? Because you've created a lot of scientific technology that doesn't exist.
No, I don't. I just have a very active imagination. So if I think something sounds cool, like a suit that changes colors when you go in different areas of the world, or, it's just all imagination,
I want one of those outfits.
Yeah. I know. It's fun stuff. The ZapNet in my book is...
The ZapNet. Tell us about the ZapNet.
Yeah. I actually did some research on NASA, and breathing up in the troposphere area because, technically you wouldn't be able to breathe up there. So I did a lot of research on how they convert oxygen up there, and they use these little things where they convert moisture into oxygen by zapping it with like an electric current. So that's where my ZapNet came from, which creates the oxygen that they breathe up there. It's just all on Google. Hey, just Google's got so much.
That's wonderful. Well, I understand that, and I don't want to give too much away, but I think at some point your characters end up in Hawaii. Is that correct?
Yes, at some point we're going to be in a futuristic Hawaii, so maybe I can schedule a trip there for some research.
Well, you call me, Amy, when you're ready to go. I might be able to carry your bags.
Yeah, right.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us. This is Amy, or actually her professional name is A.E. Field. She is, right now we're talking about her debut novel, YA novel called Skyla. Thanks for joining us, Amy. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, Kathleen. Anytime.